Onto this now. What does the average South African plate of food look like? Well, the Plate of the Nation study says it's low on vegetables, but big on meat and starch. To tell us more about their findings, we chat to the CEO of marketing company MullenLowe South Africa, Sarah Dexter, joins us virtually from here in Johannesburg. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. Just for a basis of this conversation, give us an idea of how the Plate of the Nation survey is put together.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having us on to talk about this. So this is actually the second year of the Plate of the Nation study. We interview over 1,000 South Africans across the board just to really understand what are people eating, why are they eating the way they are, and what are their attitudes actually towards eating. Do they understand that the impact that it has on their bodies and also in the longer term kind of on the land and actually on the planet?
Now, in the last year, obviously, we've been living in a pandemic, and that's had an impact on how we eat. At some point, we had reports that the citrus industry could almost not keep up with the demand because everybody was fixated on the amount of vitamin C that we were getting into our body. But going by your survey, it seems that we're very much still a meat and potatoes nation, aren't we?
Absolutely. So 90% of our respondents self-proclaimed themselves as meat eaters. And what was absolutely astonishing from the survey was the frequency of meat eating as well. You know, four times a week on average. So if you think about you're averaging across the poorest South African to the richest, that's a lot of meat going on our plates. And in fact, almost 3/4 of our plate, again, on average, is taken up by meat and starch. And that's completely out of whack with what Lancet and WHO and everybody around the world is recommending to get for a balanced diet.
It's also out of whack with the conversations we've had today, where we're talking about how South Africans are struggling to put food on the table, and they're making decisions based on their purse. And one affordability index saying that women in the household are buying less food or are buying cheaper food. But if you look at our meat intake, it's not like meat got any cheaper. It actually got more expensive. Where are we having this meat? Is it in the mornings? Is it in the evenings? Is it on weekends where we're buying? Where are we consuming this meat, which is quite pricey?
Absolutely everywhere. So less so, obviously, in the morning. So breakfast is the time of day when we're least likely to have any meat, although it does show up. So particularly dinner, that really, we are seeing it. And remember, when we talk about meat, what might have happened over time with affordability is people have traded down to cheaper cuts. Also, we did see a lot of bulk buying. So massive frozen chicken, you know, or actually offcuts as well of meat. We have to kind of bear in mind the kind of meat that South Africa is eating. So yeah, very much in the dinner. And then if you get to what is self-determined to be a special occasion, then about just under 40% of your plate is made up with meat, which is not surprising. If you think about a typical braai, it's often meat and then a starch on the plate.
And I'll just
you know, a little bit of bean salad or something if we're lucky.
If we're lucky, a bit of chakalaka thrown in there with some beans, which is a favourite as well.
Exactly.
Just in closing, Sarah,
Yeah.
before I let you go, I was quite interested in what the survey found out about our approach to breakfast. I mean, famously, I'm told that actually breakfast isn't the most important meal of the day, and that was just part of one of the big food giants campaign many years ago. And it seems, according to your survey, because of the lockdown lifestyle, people aren't necessarily putting that much focus on breakfast early in the morning, and we're moving more towards brunch or grabbing something in the kitchen in between your Zoom meetings. What did your survey find in that regard?
So breakfast is still very much being eaten. A much higher portion of women eating breakfast. And again, I think that's quite logical in terms of it's generally, not always, but generally the woman who's providing breakfast for the household, particularly the kids. So it's not surprising then that we're seeing mums eating a little bit more breakfast than men, although actually what we did see is women in general consuming more meals across the day than men. So it's definitely not, if people are going to drop a meal. We're seeing it happening at breakfast, but there's still well over a third of women having breakfast during the week.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you so much. That is Sarah Dexter. She is the CEO of MullenLowe South Africa, who at the commission of the meal kit company Knorr, telling us more there about the Plate of the Nation study.